Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive.
Always ready to dig in. What are we looking at today?
All right, so we're tackling annuities today.
Okay.
Specifically, the American Life American Fusion MYGIA annuity.
Interesting.
And full disclaimer, right off the bat, not offering financial advice,
Right.
just information.
Of course. Always best to talk to a professional, figure out what works for your own situation.
Exactly. But for informational purposes, let's break this thing down, see what it's all about.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
So glancing through the material here, one thing that kind of jumps out at me is this 6.76% annualized effective yield.
Oh, yeah, that catches the eye for sure.
I mean, that's pretty significant, right? So got to ask, how realistic is that number?
Well, it's definitely an attention grabber, but like anything else, there's details.
What's the catch?
Well, that 6.76% is tied to the S&P 500 index performance. It's not a guaranteed return, more like a bonus if the market does well.
Okay, that makes sense. So for those of us who maybe don't track the market super closely, what exactly is the S&P 500?
Good question. It's basically a basket of 500 of the largest U.S. companies, publicly traded, kind of a snapshot of how the overall market is doing.
So if those companies are doing well, growing,
Then this annuity could potentially grow at that 6.76% rate.
gotcha. So potential for growth there. But what if the market takes a dip? What kind of guarantees are we looking at with this annuity?
Right. Got to have some security. So even if the market doesn't hit that 25% growth target, the one that triggers the full 6.76%,
Right.
the American Fusion MYGIA still offers a guaranteed compounding interest rate for the first 5 years, no matter what the market does.
So there's a safety net.
Exactly.
I see.
It's a fixed rate, nice and predictable, even when things are uncertain out there.
I like that. Okay. Now, something else that caught my eye in the material, it mentions penalty-free. Required minimum distributions starting in year 2. That sounds pretty flexible. But I'm thinking taking distributions early, wouldn't that potentially, impact the long-term growth?
You're absolutely right to think about that. It's a trade-off.
Right.
So RMDs, those are required minimum distributions. It's the IRS saying, hey, got to start taking some money out of your retirement accounts after a certain age.
Right.
Now, being able to take those penalty-free early on, yeah, that gives you some options, some flexibility, but you got to balance that with the potential impact on the compounding growth over time. It's a decision best made with a financial advisor looking at your whole picture.
Makes sense. Speaking of the whole picture, what about taxes with this thing? You mentioned tax-deferred growth.
Ah, yes, taxes. Always got to think about those.
Can you break down how that works specifically with this annuity?
Sure. So imagine you've earned, let's say, $5,000 in interest within the annuity.
Yep.
With tax-free growth, you don't owe taxes on that $5,000 until you withdraw it. And that withdrawal might be years down the line during retirement, maybe when you're in a lower tax bracket.
Could be saving some serious money that way.
Exactly. It's a big advantage compared to, let's say, taxable investments, where you pay taxes on those earnings every single year.
Okay, that's a big difference.
Huge.
All right. Let's see. What else? Oh, the guaranteed death benefit. That's something that really stood out to me.
Yeah, peace of mind feature.
Big time. Why is that so important, especially thinking about retirement planning?
Well, because it basically ensures that if something happens to you,
Right.
your full account value goes to your beneficiaries.
Okay.
No surrender charges, no market adjustments, nothing like that to worry about. Your loved ones get the full value no matter what the market's doing.
That's a big relief, honestly.
It is, especially when you're thinking long term.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've talked growth, we've talked guarantees, flexibility, tax benefits, even, taking care of your loved ones. But zooming out a bit, how does this annuity fit into like the overall retirement planning picture?
Well, I'd say, annuities in general, they're not about getting rich quick.
Right.
They're more about long-term stability, building that solid foundation.
Slow and steady.
Yeah, exactly. And this particular annuity, this American Life American Fusion MYGIA,
Yay.
it tries to strike a balance. You've got that guaranteed growth, but also the potential to benefit from, market gains.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Definitely not. You really got to understand your own risk tolerance, what your retirement goals are, that kind of thing.
Okay. So for our listeners out there getting serious about retirement planning, what's the key takeaway from all this?
I think the biggest thing is this annuity, it offers a lot, but it's not magic, right?
Yeah.
Do your research, weigh the pros and cons, and like we said at the beginning, talk to a financial advisor.
Right. See if it's a good fit.
Exactly. They can help you decide if it aligns with your specific needs, goals.
That's great advice. And as our listeners are doing that research, here's something to think about. Those early penalty-free RMDs we talked about.
Yeah.
How do those fit with your retirement vision? How you see yourself living, your spending needs.
That's a good point.
Something to ponder, right? Keep those brains working, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.
Sounds good. Until